vaccine.
And good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hello to the people in the woods and on the boat and up in the hotel room and wherever in the world you may happen to be. It is your John Lavenia Success Mastermind for a Wednesday. It is can you believe this? I can't believe what I'm about to say. It is Wednesday, the 2nd of June. Yeah, I did say that. It's Wednesday, the 2nd of June. I'm your guy, Glen Henderson. It's here, your general session this morning. A quick housekeeping deal, and we'll let you know what's on the calendar. Here is, of course, your general session right after this, your hospitality suite. And as I'm looking at the schedule here, there's been a change or two, an adjustment or two, which is cool. So after the hospitality suite, immediately following this, next thing you got on your calendar is me again. Anybody getting tired of my behind yet? 9 p.m. Eastern Time with networking magic. And with any luck at all, we shall have a fabulously smooth technical session this evening. So who's here? Mark's out on the water enjoying himself. How's it going out there, Lieutenant Colonel? Pretty groovy. Nice to see you. And Adrian looks like new digs over there. And welcome, Edward. Good to see you, my man. And Daisy's here. Nice office. I like it. Suzanne holding it down for us over in Switzerland. And then, of course, Edward. Oh, my man, Edward in the UK. And the money mama never misses a chance. Figure out how to make some more money. Nice to see you, Lindsay. And, of course, Mr. Godzilla himself, John Lavenia. Good to see you, my friend. How's everybody? Well, I'll tell you what. I was talking with Adrian and Mark, Suzanne, as we were starting up our conversation this morning. I'm not sure if the word settled is appropriate in the house. We're moved in. Most of the boxes are unpacked. And, our realtor was saying that, don't worry, takes people about a month to get settled in. And I said, clearly, our realtor does not understand the concept of OCD and my wife. So it will not be taking us a month to get unpacked. As a matter of fact, I have the feeling that the whip's about to be cracked this weekend. And we'll get it done. No worries. By the way, you're all invited to the housewarming party. We'll let you know. It's coming up in a couple of Saturdays' time, and we are very, very excited about this place. You know what's interesting is we have had ample opportunity for streamlining, going through and saying, well, do we really need 17 corkscrews? So I think we've got ourselves down to 4 at this point, or words to that effect, and it's an interesting thing. I've never really been a big fan of the word downsizing, because downsizing to me implies I'm getting rid of stuff, I'm shrinking. We are going through all of our material possessions and deciding which ones we really need to keep and which ones we can live without, give to Goodwill, put up for consignment sale. Right sizing. That's a good one. That's another one of those beautiful corporate words, right sizing. So yeah. And, in thinking about this whole thing well, we've been in the house now for a couple of weeks. We really should have all the boxes unpacked by now. And we really have got to get, I was reading, and here we get to our topic. I was reading one of the various books that I have on the go at any given time. This one, to which I'm going to refer today, is by our good friend, Mr. Jack Canfield. You've heard of Jack Canfield, and Maybe you haven't heard of Jack Canfield and his buddy Mark Victor Hansen. And, well, you've heard of their Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, which has sold in excess of 1 billion books. Yes, that was billion with a B. Wherein a lesson all to itself. Whatever goals you got set for this month, this year, add a 0. You've heard me say that before. I firmly believe that, as I've heard said a number of times, most recently by, I think it was Jessica Higdon, who was the one of the co-founders of the Higdon Group and a very, very powerful network marketing and direct selling training organization called Rank Makers. Anyway, Jessica said, and we've heard it before, most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 90 days and grossly underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years. So, as our friend John loves to remind us, and as I get to punch myself in the face with the lesson upon multiple occasions, habits beat heroics. One step in the direction of my goals, one step, one action taken in the direction of my goals beats an entire journal of writing about my goals. And it beats one step at a time, taken one step, one day at a time, usually beats what some people have called massive rush in the beginning. Massive. You hear people talk about massive action. Okay. If you are in a place in your life where you can take massive action right now, you've got the time, you've got the energy, hey, by all means, have at it. Most of the time, we in our daily lives have time to take one step. Take one action per day. Can you improve your performance every day? Boy, that's a big one, Glenn. Can I actually improve every single day? Well, define improve. Here's a nice definition of improvement. Can you do what you do today 1% better than you did it yesterday? If you can, then you can improve yourself every day and look forward, get to a year and look back and what has happened. You have improved your performance. You have leveled up your skills 365%. What would your business look like if you were to improve your skills 365% in 1 year from now? Holy shlamoli. Anyway, back to Jack Canfield. The book that I'm reading is called The Success Principles. And there's a chapter in the book that talks about, transform your inner critic into an inner coach, is the overall theme of the chapter. I'm going to focus on only one this morning, only one of the little miniature ideas in this chapter about turning your inner critic into an inner coach. Jack, in this little section that I'm going to talk about, he talks about something that every last one of us on this call has done at one point or another in our lives, and don't even bother trying to deny it, because you've done it, I've done it, John Lavenia himself has done it, every last one of us has. What is it? Guilt tripping. Guilt tripping ourselves. We use words like should, have to, ought to, must, gotta, I ought to spend, oh man, I ought to spend I ought to spend more time with my kids. I really should spend more time studying for that exam. I have to exercise more. I really have to get my eating together. Man, I have to make more phone calls. I ought to be making more phone calls. I ought to be doing more and building my business. What's wrong with me? Remember what I said? Don't even bother denying it. I haven't. So what happens? What happens to us mentally, emotionally, when we should all over ourselves? What happens when we should all over ourselves? As soon as I feel like I should do something, or I ought to do something, or I have to do something, you know what my brain does? My brain does what it does, which is protect me. Our brains are designed to protect us from harm. Nice. I like it, Mark. Our brains are designed to protect us from danger. And so when I create this picture in my head, or this concept in my own head, that I should do something, or that I have to do something, it's almost as if I'm creating this straw man of something that I don't really want to do, but I know that so I end up creating a kind of internal resistance within myself to doing the thing. The very thing which I want to do, maybe I need to do, I should. Okay, everyone raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will not should all over myself today. So, what's the solution? What's the solution? Replace. It is so powerful. We've said this so many times and discussed this concept of the power of words, how powerful our words are to affect our mindset, to affect our attitude, to affect our actions. Replace should, ought to, have to, must. Replace it with I want to. It supports my goals to. It would be smart to put down the white flour and pick up the brown rice. It supports my goals. It's in my best interest to block out 30 minutes to work on prospecting, to work on to pick up the phone and make some calls. It is in my best interest. It supports my goals for my e-commerce business to reach out to that vendor and set up the new relationship. So I'm going to do it because it's good for me, because it supports my goals. Guilt, as Jack Canfield himself says here, guilt is never productive. Never. One of the things that I have noticed about many kinds of social constructs, if you like, about certain religious or faith systems, and this is not a criticism per se, it's something that I've noticed, a feature that I've noticed. Many of these kinds of social agreements have built into them the concept of guilt. the concept that I screwed up, therefore, I'm nothing, I'm a piece of crap, I'm a loser because I messed up. And now I need help from somebody else or some other power or something outside myself in order to realign myself with my highest values, my highest goals in life. And again, I mean this with the utmost respect to anyone, to anyone who has grown up in a system like that, or to the systems. I myself grew up in a system similar to that. And as time has gone on and I've gained experience, I refuse to use the O word. I'm not getting over there. Time is passing and I'm gaining more experience and wisdom. As that has happened, I've come to realize that guilt is paralyzing. It will absolutely, I don't know about you, guilt has had a way of absolutely freezing me in my tracks and stopping me from taking any action at all to achieve my highest goals, because after all, I screwed up so much in the past. Mea culpa. I'm a loser. I don't deserve. I'm here to tell you that as a uniquely created and fashioned human being, you have the absolute right and power and resources and ability to achieve any and all of your highest aims and goals in life. And there is nothing that exists that can stop you. Not even you. You catch that? Nothing that exists can stop you. Not even you. So quit shoulding all over yourself. Next time you hear yourself saying should, stop and give yourself one of these and replace that phrase with I want to. Because you do, don't you? You want to take action. You want to take positive action toward the accomplishment of your goals. Yes? You want to take intentional steps toward the accomplishment of your goals. So I want to. It's in my best interest. I am so excited that I get to get on the rower and get down to some exercise today. Man, I'm fired up about it. I am excited about building my dreams and achieving my goals. I know what the steps are. You know, we have enough how to in our lives, don't we? Hey, we're part of the mastermind. We are part of the Lavenia mastermind. We're getting a whole bunch of how to in here. Now we get to remove ourselves as an obstacle to accomplishing those things, to achieving those goals of ours. Everybody's good at something. Everybody is better at some things than at others, and not so good, and so forth. There's certain things I'm pretty good at. Certain things I'm not so great at. I'll tell you what, one of the things at which I am an absolute freaking Jedi master is the art of not taking on other people's problems. Where am I going with this? Shooting all over myself. And yeah, he did. He said Jedi, John. Yes. Listen, I'm ecumenical. I can dig me some Star Wars too. Yes. May the Force be with you. So yes. What does this have to do with shooting all over myself? Really, if you get to the bottom line of it, should, must, have to, guilt tripping myself is taking my own problems back on me, isn't it? And as I said, I'm an absolute freaking Vulcan adept at not taking on other people's problems, not even my own. So, friends, I'll wrap it up with this, and I'd love to hear. I can just smell the wood burning out here. Somebody's got something to say. I do solemnly swear that I will not shit all over myself today. So there is nothing that exists that can stop you. Not even you. Woo! That's some pretty good preaching right there, if I do say so myself. Yeah, so somebody talk to me. I would love to hear from you. Right off the bat. What's up, Godzilla?
Oh my goodness. I just had to look up ecumenical.
Nice.
That's great. Thank you for expanding my vocabulary. You see that? I learned something today. I don't know if I'll use that word in a sentence in the very near future, but I may. And what a great way to improve our self-esteem is to learn something new every day. So back to the idea of shoulding on myself. That's very good. That's very good use of English. So Glenn and I are wordsmiths, in case you haven't figured that out. We're both authors. We're not the only authors here in this room, by the way. But I think the whole idea of should, and Glenn, you and I have talked about this. You know what? It's been a while since we've had a facilitators meeting. We should put that on the calendar, because I know we've talked about this sort of thing in our facilitators group. For those of you who don't know, people like Glenn and Adrienne and Mark and those who show up here and host sessions, we do have a little bit from time to time, a little bit of private meeting stuff that goes on, where I get to hear what's going on in the minds of people who are running the ship. It's not all me, by the way, right? So I know my name's on the tile outside, but we got lots of talent here. And one of the things that we talked about in one of our groups was the idea of why we do what we do, and how we share what works in our lives with anyone who's interested in listening, and hopefully help them have a breakthrough as well. But we do not and must not put shoulds on people. Because now what? Now that just, I'll tell you what it does for me, is it introverts me. Introverts, right? Am I doing it? I should be. Well, I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not doing it good enough. The other guy might be doing it better. What was the saying that was kicked around here last week? Comparisons. Glenn,
comparison is the thief of joy.
There you go. So should, right? Just right in that word is a comparison. Now, this is an interesting perspective, because I think we all know that we shouldn't go out and murder people, right? So that's pretty, at least in terms of like the scale of ostensibly obvious morality. Yeah, okay. So we shouldn't go out and steal. But here's the thing. Murder and stealing and all the crazy stuff that the parts of society does, right? Are we engaged in that? I don't think anyone here in this conversation is engaged in that. So knowing that we are already ethical people, can we relieve ourselves of a lot of this other should kind of stuff? I think we can. I mean, if we're already on the right track, and we know that we are, well, then how much comparison do we have to do? I guess if you want to, give yourself a medal or something, you could look at the dregs of society and say, oh, well, we're doing so much better than that. But I've never delighted in my comparison with people whose lives clearly aren't working, right? So we're all productive members of society here. We're all people who are on purpose to whatever degree. And so my thought on this, Glenn, as you're talking about this, my thought on this is that if there's any lack that I'm perceiving and what I should be doing, it's only my own unwillingness to give myself a command and follow it. Like, I mean, here's the thing. We talk about the whole idea of responsibility and how that is directly hooked up with causation, right? If you want control of something in your life, well, then you must accept responsibility for that thing. Anything we put on autopilot, we give up control of. Think about it in your car, right? Now the car is on, cruise control, right? And so it sets the speed, it controls the speed. You no longer control the speed. And we can see how this plays out in various areas of life, where that which we have relinquished responsibility, we have also assigned cause elsewhere, and now we no longer have control or freedom in that area. So back to the original idea. I have shoulded myself so much throughout my life. I should, you know what? I'm in high school, and I should get along with these kids, right? And for those who don't know, I wasn't like a sports guy, a jock, we called it, right? I wasn't in that group. I was outside of that group. But you know what? Those seem to be the people who were favored by teachers and cheerleaders, for that matter. And I wasn't in that group, right? I should be. And you see right there, if you could just picture that, here's little Johnny, introverted, less than, by some story that was sold to him by people who thinks he should be this or that. And how many of us keep dragging this stuff into modern life? Okay, so you're not in high school anymore. Okay, but how many of us behave like we are, comparing our insides to other people's outsides? That's something I had to put attention on for myself. And Glenn, I don't mean to hijack all this, but you definitely hit a nerve with the whole idea of should. If we could just take inventory, and if we could just give ourselves a directive, like I consider the best advice ever, decide who you are and be that. Okay, great. So who am I? And let's take inventory, right? Here are my roles in my life, and here are my goals as it relates to each role. And if there's any shoulds, it's live up to that ideal. What did Earl Nightingale say? Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Worthy to who? Worthy to me. So the only shoulds then are the ones that I can give myself based on my own self-determined goals, purposes, objectives, right? And all the story about it, right? If that profits me, well, then fine, let's run with it. If you can guilt yourself into just doing the right thing, doing the thing you know you should have been doing all along, okay, fine. Then run with that for as long as you need, the crutch. But I think we get to a point, and I have, to a large degree, where it just feels right to do what I know works. I'm happiest when I'm in high integrity action, not because I should, right? I mean, take it to that crazy extreme again, right? So let's say that for some reason you were ignorant to the idea of, like murder is bad or something. Would you suddenly have, the urge to go out and murder people? Probably not, right? Probably not, right? So we can put a lot of this stuff to bed, just already knowing that we're, highly, ethical and on purpose people. If that's how you consider yourself. Now, if not, well, then you could take a look at that. But I can tell you what, hanging around with people like Glen and all these others that you see here, by osmosis or whatever, something's going to rub off, right? As I've often said, Glenn, the whole idea of, I don't do like personal development isn't like something I do. And now, all right, I'm done doing that. So now let me go get back to being the miserable, ne'er-do-well or whatever. No, it's the same guy, right? So it's not a part-time, personal development is not a part-time gig. Anyway, thank you. I hope I made some sense, and thank you.
Perfect. Yes, sir. Personal development is a way of life, a way of living. I love it. Yes, ecumenical, my $5 word for the day. Thank you, John. And it's never hijacking. I think of it as riding shotgun. Heck yeah. Stefan, what's happening, my man?
Hey guys. I logged on right when you started talking about the should thing, and I'm not gonna lie, it had me laughing. I've been hearing some variation of that on or off multiple times over the past few weeks, and every single time it hits home, because I've given myself more pain internally from saying I should do something or I could have or would have than I have even with doing procrastination. so, so it definitely hits home. Don't have much else to say, but that's it. I just thought it was a good topic.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefan. And man, out in the great outdoors. I'm loving it. I'm loving
Mushroom
it.
hunt.
You got like a Bowie knife on your leg, or like
I have a lighter.
Forget the
lighter?
I don't even smoke.
hunting, mushroom hunting. Did you say, Stefan?
Yeah.
Well, let me just state for the record, when it comes to mushrooms, more for you.
Sounds good to me. They make a lot of money too.
So, my wife, Paula, when she was a teenager in England or wherever she was at that particular point, she actually spent a couple of summers working in a mushroom factory.
Yep.
At a mushroom farm. I think it was in England. And oh boy, the stink that she brought home every day. Mushrooms are absolutely not funny when they're grown like that industrially, but that's cool. You said something, Stefan, a moment ago about this whole idea of shooting all over ourselves, and that having the potential to drag us down, to stop us even more than procrastination. It reminded me of something that John had just said, that shoulding, guilt tripping ourselves, procrastinating. In some ways, it's kind of a form of work avoidance, isn't it? Wouldn't you say, John? It's a way of saying, oh well, I know what I need to do, but I'm just such a procrastinator. Oh, you know me, ha ha ha. When what it really is I just don't want to do the thing. I just don't want to frickin' do it. So I'm going to come up with some excuse, some psychological malady that I'm going to call guilt trip or procrastination or something. And I'm not pointing a finger at you, Stefan. I really am not.
No. I was agreeing with you, because I'm like saying it's not born out of laziness,
right?
Which is the part that, at least that part's comforting, because it's like I know that I'm not lazy. I know I work my butt off, even no matter what I'm doing. If I have a job or not, I'm working my butt off.
There you go.
That's all I can do.
Which brings me to the next part of this, which is if I really continue to persist in guilt tripping and shoulding all over myself and air fingers quotes procrastinating, maybe the reason is that what I have stated as my goals are not actually what I want to do. Maybe I need to step back and take another look at what I have said are my goals. Because I learned this lesson a long time ago. Back in when was it? 1982. I first heard this statement from a dear old friend of mine named Brian Curry, who I credit for a lot of what I've learned about personal development. Brian said, Glenn, always remember, people always make time for the things that are truly important to them.
Yep.
And so if I'm continually procrastinating, putting it off, not taking high integrity action, not placing myself into high integrity action toward the accomplishment of this goal, which I say I want to accomplish, maybe the thing is not, as you said, Stefan, not that I'm lazy. We're not lazy people. Maybe the thing is, and we're not liars, we're not hypocrites so far as we know. Maybe the thing is that I really don't want to do this thing. Maybe what I'm saying is my goal really isn't my goal, and maybe I need to go back and take another look.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I don't want to hog up.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because when I look at what I want to do, I love photography. I always will. I'm going to always do it. And I want to keep continuing doing it as a business, I think. But I went through this when I was in culinary school, where I was convincing myself that I was meant to be a chef and trying to force myself into that cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. And eventually it just got to a point where I basically said no, and I went the complete opposite direction, which everybody thought was completely insane. And they weren't wrong in some senses in terms financially, but because I had to go back to school for something else right after that. However, I'm starting to feel the same sort of pull towards doing stuff with agriculture, believe it or not. And I don't know yet. I have to think it out more, but it's a scary thought because it's, we talked about like identities a couple of weeks ago and tying them to your career. I've already done this like 4, 5, 6 times now. It's getting old.
Wow. Well, so far I've heard photography, culinary arts, agriculture. Well, you just a regular Renaissance man, ain't you?
Sales, farming.
But you make a very interesting point, Stefan. Very interesting point. And it brings me to something that I've always had or not had in my life, depending on how you want to look at it. I've never been one to define myself in terms of my career, my job. They say, one of those old sayings, how much truth is in it? Please decide for yourself. The old saying that used to be, men define themselves by their careers. Women define themselves by their family life. Whatever. And again, to whatever degree you find truth in that, cool. My point is, believe it or not, even though last time I checked, I am a man, I've never been one to say, I am my job, or I am what I do. I am my career. Now, the one exception to that is that I have said on multiple occasions that I am a singer. That is who I am. And it has always been that.
I'm an artist.
But it's been so ingrained in my personality, singing, that it has never felt like a job to me. It has never felt like a career. It has felt like a component of my personality, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So I think that there may be some sense in which we would do well, as John said, decide who you are and then be that. You notice John didn't say decide what you do and then do that. He said decide who you are and then be that. If I'm comfortable with myself, comfortable in my own skin, and as many of us have come to be over the years, if I'm comfortable with who I am, then what I do can vary all over the place. Because it is simply the me, the I of who I am, the I doing this, experimenting with that, trying out the other, experiencing thus and such. You see, and none of it becomes either a threat to or a value judgment upon the essence of who I am. So I'm now freeing myself to try more things in life, to explore more. It sounds to me, Stefan, like perhaps you are actually more comfortable in your own skin than you might have thought. And this is just the I of who Stefan is, experimenting and trying and experiencing more of life. I say roll with it, brother.
Only if it paid more. If only it paid more.
Well, you know what? Do what cool. Figure out what you really enjoy doing and get really good at it, and the money will come find you. Yeah. Moving right along. Ingrid, how are you, ma'am? What's happening? Let me hear.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. Please go forward. Love to hear from you.
So, yeah, I just jumped on because of what Stefan's saying, and you were talking about the identity thing, right? And the singer and all that stuff. So my entire life, I was always introduced as, hey, this is Ingrid. She's a violinist. And literally it got me through everything. Like I didn't have to actually be socially apt at all because I could just be the violinist. And people would hang out with me because they thought it was cool to be able to drag me around, like show me off like some pet seal. And, there's certain benefits to that, but it's bullshit. And it really hit me when I started to have a lot of injuries and I wasn't able to play. And I remember saying, I was crying once I was out for like 2 years, and my boyfriend at the time was this totally hot French horn player and principal in Boston Symphony now, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, like, who am I? Like, no one calls for me in the house anymore. Like, the phone calls are always for him, because I was invisible, because I was the violinist, but I wasn't playing. Does that make any sense? So it was gross, because then I had to, like, I remember saying, oh my God, I have to get a personality. Like, I have to become Ingrid. Who's Ingrid? And it was a huge, huge shift. It was hard, and people still do it, and I don't care, and I'll do it myself. I don't care, but it's so huge when you have that thing that you've been associated with for your entire life, basically. And then if you want to do other things, people don't even pay attention to it really, because you're just dabbling, because after all, you're the violinist. So Stefan, go do all the things that you like, because they're all part of Stefan, and just be Stefan, and don't put yourself in a box, because it isn't worth it. It so isn't worth it. That's just my 2 cents.
Words of wisdom and words of experience. So as John was talking about, the things that we have learned and implemented in our own lives, which we can then turn around and share with somebody else in the hopes that it may be of some value to you. I've heard it described as ILT: invest, learn, teach. Invest time, perhaps some money, perhaps some emotional and mental energy in learning a principle, learning a technique, learning about ourselves, and then turning around and sharing. That is teaching what we learned. Thank you, Ingrid. Yes. Edward, my man, what's happening?
Great topic. Great topic. Great topic. Now, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask everybody this. What if you take all-out massive action and you just continue with the all-out massive action and you're not getting the results you're looking for, even though you're skilled, even though you are experienced, even though you at the top of your game, you think, but the results are not there. And you keep on monitoring yourself, and you keep on getting better, and you keep on working on your mindset and all that scenario. And you've seen, the progress, but you haven't seen the fruit of the progress. How do you deal with that? How do you make that better?
Wow.
Because that right there will cause I should do this, but I might do that, but that kind of scenario.
Wow. That is a huge question right there, Edward. I would welcome any thoughts. I have a thought about it. I would love to hear the Godzilla's view on this. He's probably up to his elbows in something at the moment, and I totally understand. The very first thing instinctively that comes to my mind, Edward, situation like that, maybe I've got my ladder leaned up against the wrong building. And boy, here comes the Star Trek reference. You knew it was coming, didn't you? There's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Data, the android who wishes to be human, is in a certain type of competition against a human, an intellectual, that type of thing, a really arrogant guy, and this person keeps defeating Data in what should be a cakewalk for an android with, super intelligence and super strength and everything. And yet Data keeps being beaten by this person. So Data goes to Captain Jean-Luc Picard, and asks him about this. He says, but I executed the proper strategy. I did this right, and yet he's still defeated. I do not understand. And Captain Picard says something extremely profound, which I thought was extremely profound. He said, Data, it is possible to do everything right and still lose. That is not weakness. That is life. So I take that in the context of what we're talking about here, Edward. I take that to mean if I am in a place where at one time I decided my efforts were worthily spent, if I'm doing something which I at one point chose to do because I thought it was something worthwhile that would advance my career or whatever it is, a business that I thought was really going to be a going concern. And I got the proper training, acquired the proper skills, got my mind right, as you've said, and have dedicated to myself and put in the effort and have been putting in work consistently over a period of time, and the results are not what I desired or expected. It's possible, and I say this, come to this conclusion, Edward, having been in some sense where in this scenario that you're talking about. At some point, another Star Trek episode reference, about to enter into a losing battle, First Officer William Riker says to Captain Picard, "Some days you get the bear, and some days the bear gets you." What I'm saying, said all that to say, there comes a time to cut my losses and move on. I don't know, and I cannot tell each person what that point is, at what point it becomes time to make a decision and choose another path. I don't know. And again, each person will make that own decision, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind, is that, it's so corny, the whole thing about definition of insanity, same thing, expecting different results. We are not insane. We're not doing stupid things. We're not just running around purposeless. What the scenario I believe you're talking about, Edwards, is someone who has chosen a path and has acquired the skills, set their mind in the right place, and is taking the proper actions that would be expected to achieve a certain desired result, and those results don't show up. Okay, it might be a point where we say, oh, all right, you know what? I've given this my best. It didn't work out. Failure is not an obstacle on the road to success. Failure is the road. Sometimes I sometimes I stick with something and I hang in there and I keep trying and I keep trying and I keep trying because of my own ego. Because, I don't lose. I'm gonna do this thing and I'm gonna get it because I don't lose. Okay? Yeah, you do. Yeah, I do. Because we all do. Everybody tries. Everybody fails. If I'm enjoying it and it's giving me fulfillment, and let's be frank about it, it's paying the bills, then maybe stick with it a little longer. Sometimes, though, it can take for me to set aside my pride and say, you know what? I've done the best I could do with this thing, with this venture. It didn't work out. What lessons can I take with me from this and move on? Top Gun. A good pilot is required to evaluate what happened so he can apply what he's learned. So that's my first thought, and I'm guessing Adrian may have a thought about this too. What say you, sir? Let me hear.
It's a big question, Edward, Glenn. It does depend how we're measuring our expected outcome. This is the problem with, we're told you've got to find your why, and that is crucial. If we don't find our why and the underlying reason we're doing things, and this goes back to what Stefan said as well, Stefan's engaged in a whole lot of apparently unrelated activities he's been drawn to. Maybe they're not unrelated. There might be an underlying link, like taste, texture, colors, the outdoors. It's all linked some way to food or agriculture or the outdoors. So you've got to start mining down. And when you found that thing, it may make sense to us, but as they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And if we're not careful, we take those decisions in a vacuum without really testing the market properly. And I've just seen a classic case of where a brilliant team does a brilliant job, but nobody wants to buy it anymore. They don't want to buy it on the terms that the team has put out into the market. Things have changed. So they are doing a great job and they're protecting people and they know that, but whether or not the clients understand that is the first problem. And then whether or not now in today's market, the clients want to pay for it is the second problem, and how much they want to pay for it. So we're not in a vacuum, unfortunately. And if you alight on something you love, but it doesn't make the kind of income you've set in your income goals, there is a problem because it turns more into a hobby. If money is your objective and you've set money objectives, your true fundamental why might become more of a hobby and you have to sacrifice something to go after the money. So it's a compromise, but this is unfortunately not something we're doing in a vacuum. We're controlled by the market.
I like it. I hope that you're referring to marketing online. Okay, I know, I know for a fact that there are experts, marketing experts in this mastermind who may be able to assist you with deciding on your way forward. Chief among them, the Godzilla himself and his secret weapon, the good Mrs. Shannon Lavenia. So it all becomes, as Stefan demonstrates to us so beautifully, this all becomes part of a process of exploration, a process of, it's almost like the scientific method applied to business. I pick a track, I pick what it is I think I want to do, I acquire all the resources and skills, and then I apply it toward the construction of that thing. And if the construction doesn't go as I had thought, well, perhaps there was something off with my original premise. And there's no shame in that. Scientists don't become suicidal when an experiment doesn't work. They say, okay, what happened to the experiment? What did I do? What steps did I take? And what happened? What did I do? What happened? And what can I change so that the results may be different next time? I think it becomes, as I said, it's a business application of the simple scientific method. We start with the premise, we work on it. Do the results match what we expected? Yes? Great, keep doing it. Repeat what works, delete what doesn't. Boy, we have covered some topics today. I love it. I always enjoy these discussions that, where I show up thinking we're going to be talking about one thing, and then we end up in the whole other part of the ballpark, which is fantastic. Because the conversation leads to where we need, leads to what we need. Hey, that rhymes. Thank you all so much for spending the time with us this morning and joining up with a mastermind. Thank you, Adrian and Edward and Steph, all these wonderful comments. And Mark, man, it's so great to hear from you and see all of our friends. Giovanna's here in Linda, Virginia, Sandy, Sandra, Ace, the man. So, David Dixon, I haven't seen you for a minute, brother. Nice to see that smiling face. So, listen, later on, right after this, Hospitality Suite, and then come on back and see us this evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, for Networking Magic with yours truly. And in the meantime, here's a thought. Go the heck out there and crush your day. Make it a fabulous one. You absolutely deserve it. Live long and prosper, y'all. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.